Business and Boobs, where we discuss navigating everyday life as lifters, business owners, and being a woman in a male-dominated industry. Today, we have Ciarra Cho, who Christy and I are both good friends with. If you don't know Ciarra, you should look her up. She's the wellness pro that deadlifts 600 pounds. So welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's cool to be like here and like talking to you guys.
Yeah, it's
Now,
funny because we know each other for so long now, but I have
Yeah,
not seen you in like years.
like 4 years
Um,
minimum.
because every time I go to Vegas, you're out of town.
It it just
So at
happens
least we
like
can
that. I
meet
don't know
up
why.
now.
so I think you two knew each other in person
I think I
before
froze.
I
I
knew
froze you.
Ciarra, right?
Someone froze. I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
So we met
Say it
at,
one more time. Sorry, we were frozen.
I think you two knew each other before. I never met Ciarra in person until I moved to Vegas 2 years ago. But you guys had met at a powerlifting meet, right?
Oh, it wasn't like yeah. We met like through a mutual friend like long time ago. Probably like what 2018.
yeah, and I feel like that was like 2 years ago, but no, it's a long time ago.
6 years ago
And
is so crazy to
yeah,
me.
yeah, and we are both powerlifting times, so it was really fun. And I remember Ciara could already deadlift 500, so I thought she was like the coolest. But
Oh, stop it.
so that was like a really fun time, at least in my life. Um,
Yeah,
I think you were having a lot of fun too. So
yeah,
that
for
was awesome
sure.
to be able to like train and just be part of that like world and like so in it. 'Cause, at that time you can just like be so dedicated and like that's all you care about. But it was really
Yeah,
fun. And
I
then
miss
I think when you
that.
moved to Vegas, Brittany, I was like, you guys should be friends.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
no, so it was so funny. So I remember the moment I found Ciarra's Instagram. I was living in Rhode Island at the time, and I was in like my third bodybuilding prep. And I was trying to find other females that also like lifted like me. And she was friends with one of my good friends, Charity, who was a powerlifter. And I found her profile and I just followed her. And I think I just like messaged her. I don't know. She was always posting like fun stuff. I was like, oh, we kind of seem similar. Just messaged her. We always talked. And then we actually became friends because I remember we were both talking about like, let's let each other know when we get our periods back after competing.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
And then you were kind enough, like, and I think this will go in the episode, we'll dive into this a little bit further about the type of person you are and how empathetic you are. Because even through social media, before we actually met in person, you had reached out to me. Again, I have a very photographic memory. I was sitting on my couch in Washington doing updates, and you were like, hey, is everything okay? Like, I noticed you haven't been posting as much. And I was like, wow, that was really nice of her. And I was like, actually, no, I hate my life right now. I don't know where I'm living. And then lo and behold, we both ended up, we live like 5 miles, if that, from each other, ended up living so close to each other. And then she came over, and Christy has met your dogs, because when I was house sitting when you were in Korea, her and Gary came over,
Yeah.
we went hiking. So
She told me, I was like, oh, I hope they weren't like too crackheads here.
No, they're so cute. They're so cute. I love them.
Like they're so naughty.
so yeah, little side story. But Ciarra, tell us all your titles. You started as a power lifter and then turned pro in wellness. So let's talk about what you've achieved, when you started, all that.
So I'm a power lifter. I would say I'm a high level power lifter. I used to be like pretty like top, but they've blown me out of the water these days. My best achievement in powerlifting was reaching like number 4 of all time in my weight class, in the world. That was pretty cool. And then from there, I just kind of got tired and just burnout of powerlifting from there. So that's when I started bodybuilding. And then I'm also an IFBB Wellness Pro in bodybuilding. And yeah, just IFBB Wellness Pro and then like a top level power lifter. My biggest achievements, so I've done like a 446 squat raw, no wraps, 237 bench, and then deadlift. Like in competition, I did like 578, and then outside of a competition, I just did for like funsies, 600-pound deadlift.
Which
I
is
think
awesome.
best I did in pro was like 15th. I didn't do that well as a pro, but
How long, so what weight class in powerlifting did you do, and how old were you when you started?
So I was in the 181 weight class pretty much like the whole time. I started in the 165, but I moved up to 181 like pretty quickly. That just kind of like I'm 5'8", I'm pretty tall. It like fits a lot better for my body that way. Um, so I started in 2014, something like that, when I was in going to the University of Iowa. They had a powerlifting team, and I was in college. You know, you're like partying, you're in college, you're eating whatever you want, drinking whatever you want. I had just gotten out of like basic training and job training, AIT job training for the military. And so I was going in college. I had gained the freshman, like at that time, it was only maybe like the freshman 10. I was like, oh, I need to like start doing something, you know, to stay in shape. And so I'm like, oh, I hate cardio. I don't want to run. I just got out of the military. I was running so many miles every day. I don't want to run anymore. So I'm like, what should I do? You know, I should start lifting. And then I get an email. It's like, you know, one of those emails they send like, oh, join the chess club, whatever it is. For me, it was like, join the powerlifting team, you know, like this is what it is: squat, bench, deadlift. And I remember they put like in all caps, like no cardio necessary. And I was like, yo, sign me up. Like that sounds like my kind of thing. So I started going to the powerlifting gym, like separate from the university gym that everybody went to. And I remember first day I went in and I just threw like 2 plates on the bar and I was like, yeah. And then I half squatted. I think I squatted like 6 inches and I was like, yeah, I'm so strong. I
I
thought
love
I was
it.
the shit. I really thought I was the shit. And then they were like, yeah, no, like you should go lower. And I'm like, okay. And then I went like 2 inches lower. And then they're like, no, like you should keep going lower. And so we dropped the weight down, you know, and they like showed me how to squat to depth. And then I was just in love from there. I did my first competition, bombed out. So dumb. I bombed out on bench. I think I missed out on like a 137-pound bench. And then I didn't even finish the meet. I was like so upset. And then I moved to Hawaii, and that's when I think I got like really serious about powerlifting. I started going like every day. We had like a team training 3 times a week. It was like what, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We trained every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 4 o'clock every single day. And then our coach did programming for all of us. And we would like host meets at that gym. And then we would travel around to, maybe we would go to like Worlds and we would do a fundraiser and do like USPA Worlds in Vegas. And it was really fun experience. I think that's like really, really where I like fell in love with powerlifting was in Hawaii. I deadlifted 500 for the first time, squatted 400 for the first time, bench 200 for the first time, all like with that coach. And it just sucked to have to leave. I moved to California at the time, and he's not an online coach. He's very like in-person guy. He's an older guy, not technologically like savvy at all. So he's like, yeah, sorry, when you leave, you gotta go. I'm not your coach anymore. Sorry. Not in a bad way. Just like, hey, you know, you got to do your own thing from here. So started like doing my own stuff. I got injured, hurt my back. I was out for like 8 months, came back, deadlifted like 500 again, and then really started like building up from there. Once once I got married is when I was like, all right, you know what? I really want to break number 4. I feel like I can do this. I work with Andy Huang, that huge Asian guy. He's the best. And we did exactly what I said I wanted to do. Went really well. After that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do like the American Pro. I want to do these like big powerlifting meets. And that's when I was just like, yeah, I don't think I actually want to do that anymore. I think I'm good. What is it? Joe always says, like my husband, Joe, he always says like, leave the room like when they're clapping, you know? And I feel like that's kind of been my like life motto, is like, leave the room like while they're still clapping. And so I finished my powerlifting right there, finished. I went, did bodybuilding. I got overall at my very first show. My second show, I did the Olympia Amateur. I got first place. Didn't go pro because only top 3 overall turned pro. I was 4th. And then did another bodybuilding prep. Turned pro, got first place at NPC Universe. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting ready for my first pro season. I need another goal besides just like get big. You know, getting big is not enough of a goal for me. So I'm going to try to deadlift 600. I was like 10 kilos off, you know, so it was like, I feel like I could do it. I don't feel like I've lost that much strength. Hired Andy again because, well, he's the best. And we just went and we did the, what do you call it, like an exhibition lift. I was with Brittany. Brittany was there too. And I did just the 600 pounds for the single rep. And then I was like, you know what? I think I can actually like leave powerlifting from here. That's everything I ever wanted to achieve in life, is I wanted that like 600-pound deadlift. I think I can actually like kind of give it up from here and focus on bodybuilding. Did my first pro season, I didn't do that well as a pro. I knew this is like probably where we'll translate or transfer to like the next part is like I know how much further I needed to go, how much more I needed to do to like do well as a pro in like bodybuilding, and I just like think I'm good. I don't think I want to do that. So that's where I called it, and that's where we're at
Yeah.
now.
And it's
Mm,
so we're all similar ages. And I can say for a fact what you said relates to me. And I want Chrissy to explain her perspective because she's still very much actively competing and has goals.
Right.
And and see, I'm a little bit older than you, not much, but a couple years. And I feel at about 30 as a woman, your body and hormones really, really start to change. Like you slow down, and it wasn't until recently. So I was where you were at. I've written articles about it where I was like, I was the best in the world consecutively, and like you said, leave while they're still clapping. I went back when they weren't clapping anymore a couple years later just because I wanted to, and I was like, why am I doing this? And that's when the same thing you're describing, like having that path, having a goal. Like I am a very, very goal oriented person. All three of us are. And I had come to terms with, I don't want to compete anymore because it's not worth all the sacrifice that it takes. I want to start living life. I have been my life. So since I was literally 8 years old, no joke, I have been planning my life around how I work out. And I think it's interesting that you kind of started later in life and still have all that fire. Both of you did. Like, it's fascinating to me when people start a little bit older, don't have a huge athletic background, and still are able to find that passion and that fire. So I just want to tell you that, like, might come back. Like, I obviously want to hear how you're navigating it, but it wasn't until it was about 2.5 years where I was like, I have no interest in competing. And all of a sudden, like, a light switch went off, and I was like, man, I got shit to do still. So I couldn't come
Yeah.
back. So just ride that wave. Christy, I want to hear from you because you're older than both of us, not by much, but like we talked about this a few weeks ago where you're still like, you have goals. So how are you navigating that?
So I feel like this conversation that we all are having would have been really, really helpful a year ago because seeing you guys embrace the change and like the new season of life of like not competing, not saying that you might not come back one day, or get as serious, but because who knows, there might be plans, but would have been really helpful because my identity was so wrapped up into it, and I really just like Ciarra, had a back injury too, and you know how like that is. Um, you just feel like you have unfinished business, and I felt like that for years because I still have goals I haven't accomplished. So it's been really great that you guys accomplish those goals and are happy with it and are able to enjoy life and kind of find your identity and things you like outside of it. And when I was injured, I was finally getting that place because I was kind of like, I might have to give this up. But now that I feel better, I feel like I have unfinished business, and no, I feel like no one has clapped yet. I have not clapped for myself
Mhm.
yet, so I want to get that point, and I'm almost there. I think I'm going to have a good year this year, and then maybe the next in the 160 class, and then to try to go to pro in the 180 class, and then I'll be good. But just knowing that there's more to life, and then also see my friends go through it and like see how happy and how they're thriving is super, super helpful. But I was talking to Ciarra yesterday, and when I asked her, I was like, well, like, when did you realize that you wanted to stop bodybuilding competing? You said it was just like a light switch, which is
Yeah.
crazy for me. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about that because for me, it's always such a fight. But for you, it's just kind of like, hey, I know what I want. With powerlifting too, you're like, well, I want to do bodybuilding. And then now you're like, well, I don't want to do bodybuilding. I feel like it, I don't know if it was easy, but you tell us if it was easy, hard. It was just like a one day you woke up, then you didn't want to do it.
So I wouldn't necessarily say like it was a light switch. Like one day it was just like, I don't have to do this. Because I think when I quit potty powerlifting, when I quit powerlifting, I was like, I'm not ready to be done competing, but I think I'm done with powerlifting. Because with powerlifting, I mean, I guess I'll talk about this a little bit more like as it goes, but with powerlifting too, right? I had hit like number 4 all time. I had maybe some like number goals. Like I said, I wanted to deadlift at like 600, but I saw the difference between like number 3, number 2, and then number 1 is like Cece Holcomb. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but
Yeah, I do.
she
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. I will never top that. And it's not like a self-deprecating thing. Like that's just like she deadlifted what, like 660 something or something like that. Like I will never do. I will never.
672.
Yeah, something like that. And it's not like, oh, like I can never do that. It's like I know what it takes to be able to do that. I know the amount of drugs, I know the amount of work it takes to do that. I'm not willing to do either of those things. I think I've reached in powerlifting for me, it was like I had reached the top level of like the amount that I was like willing to do. And I didn't want to, not to say that like people are wrong for doing it, but I didn't want to be one of those people who's fighting for like 5 pounds a year. You know what I mean? Like you're training, like you're giving your best every day, you're getting injured, you're doing this, and like you're getting 5 pounds better every year, you're getting 2 years and no PRs. And I just like, I wasn't in it for the long term like that. I wanted to achieve like what I wanted to achieve. And then like from there, I was just like, I think I'm okay. Like it's not about the number. It's not about like being number one. It's about like being the best of the best. It's about like what I wanted to do. And I had done what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And sure, like but for me, like the number, like number 4, number 3, it's just not that different for me, and then being like number 3 or number 2, like, okay, that's kind of a bigger difference between 4 and 2. But I saw number 2, she's amazing. I'm not like there either. I'm just like, when I see like the women that have done this and I'm like, you're amazing. It's not, I think that what you have done is amazing and it's not for me. You know what I mean? To get past this point, I'm happy with where I'm at. So it's not necessarily like I hated powerlifting or like I was ready to be done. It was just like, I see how much further I can go and it's not worth it for me, And so, but I wasn't done competing. I'm like, I want to do something else. I want to do something else. So my husband, he was bodybuilder or he's still a bodybuilder, but at the time he was bodybuilding, he was doing a prep. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do that. Wellness had just come out. Wellness came out in 2020 and I competed in 2021. So wellness had literally just come out. It was a brand new division. I didn't fit in figure. I did not want to be big as women's physique, definitely not as big as women's bodybuilding. And I didn't want to size down to go to bikini. So until wellness had come out, there wasn't even there was nowhere for me to go even in bodybuilding. But then I saw wellness. I loved the physique. I loved where it was going. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll try my hand. I'll just see if I can do it. So I did. And, I won the overall. Oh, well, first it was like I was prepping and like, I don't know, I was like a chunky little power lifter. I was so happy to be a chunky little power lifter. I was so happy with my body. And then I start losing weight, right? Start losing weight. And they're like, we don't know if I'll have the shape, because you have to lose a lot of fat. So it's like, we don't know how much shape I'll have because you never know how much muscle you have until you cut down all the way. So we're like the first 10 weeks, you're just like losing weight. And then once we hit about 8 to 10 weeks out, it was like, oh, all right, like I have a shot, like you don't know until you're there. But once I got down, I was like, I think I really have a shot to like go pro. So, won the overall. That was awesome. Olympia amateur, first place. That was awesome. And I was like, you know what? I was really mad actually, but like, that's awesome. But like, I was pissed. It's like, I want to go pro, I've already been doing this for like 8, 9 years, like whatever. I've already built a muscle. I really want to go pro. So whatever, we built a little more, just looked a little bit more for the division, turned pro. And then I was like, okay, now I want to go to the Olympia. It's not like I want to be Miss Olympia, but like for me, going to the Olympia is enough. Even if I get last place, I don't care because I went to the Olympia. And like, that's what I was like, you know what? And then I can quit bodybuilding, right? That was like my thing. My thing was like powerlifting. Like once I hit these goals, I can quit powerlifting. Once I like go to the Olympia, I can quit bodybuilding. And then I'll feel like I did everything I wanted to do and I can like stop competing. That was my kind of like line that I drew for myself. And then I competed as a pro and I was like, oh, fuck no. No way. No way. Like I see them. They're amazing. They're willing to do so much more than I'm willing to do. And I almost feel like I am like disrespecting them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I almost feel like I don't deserve, not like I don't deserve to bodybuild, not like in that way, but it's like, if I'm not willing to like give my all, if I'm not willing to give as much as she is, like, why am I doing it? And that was kind of what hit me. And that's why it was like almost like a light switch, because it was just like, I know how much more it takes. I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing this for 10 years now at this point. That's like, I know how much more work I have to do. I know how much more drugs I have to do. I know how much more it's going to take to get me to where like she is. And even if I do all of the work to build that size, to get that conditioning, to do this, to do that, I still could like not have the shape for it because I've got a pretty like wide waist as like in compared to other people. I have a very like more like up and down shape versus that like curve shape that they want. They want the big lower body, the small waist, and then the smaller upper body. First of all, I've already got the wide shoulders. Not ideal. I've got a wide waist. Not ideal. I do have like the muscle and the development in the lower body to where I think that if I developed enough muscle that it could overpower like everything else, that would be a lot of muscle. And then at that point, I might have like too much muscle for the division. And so I'm just like, those are the things, right? I'm like weighing it all out in my head and thinking about what I want to do. And then I think once I finally made peace with the like, this is what it's going to take. Are you willing to do it? And then I went, I just don't know if I am. And that's when it made it easy for me to be able to like stop because I know how much more it takes. I know what it takes to get to where I like want to be. And I think that I just wasn't willing to do that anymore. I dedicated my life to powerlifting and bodybuilding for almost 10 years. I want to like live something outside. And I think the biggest, I don't want to say wake up call because it was like a very slow wake up, was when we traveled. We traveled to like Vietnam, we went to Korea, and we were out of the country for like 3 months. And being outside of the US, and especially like I would say Vietnam, because they have such a different standard of living there, it really makes you think about like what's important in life. And for me, it wasn't bodybuilding. What was important in life is like, spending time with my husband, like experiencing things and like eating different foods. I know I shouldn't have like a priority in life of like eating different foods, but when, you're bodybuilding, you have such like a small group of things that you're allowed to like do. And when I was in Vietnam and like I was really enjoying myself, we were doing so many different things, meeting so many different people, experiencing this different culture. I really wanted to like post about it and talk about it and be open about it. And I felt like I couldn't. I felt like as a professional bodybuilder, I shouldn't talk about this. I shouldn't post about this. I shouldn't be eating this. And I felt like ashamed for like eating pho. Like I was ashamed for like eating and experiencing all this new stuff. And that's when I was just like, I just don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way about travel because travel is something I really want to prioritize. And if I feel this way about travel, like one, it's like not healthy. It's like you shouldn't feel that way about something that you're voluntarily doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, like if the travel is outweighing the like goal, then it's not that big of a goal. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect
Totally
sense.
does. Because I feel like also like Brittany and I'm sorry, I'm speaking for Brittany too, but I've noticed this in Brittany as well. It's like we're so wrapped up in competing and work and like those like goals like and accomplishments. But once you kind of start living life outside of that, you're like traveling and having fun or like going out to eat or having a few drinks. It's like life is short. Like I want to
Yeah.
go do things, experience things, but it's so hard to see out of that bubble, especially if you were, really prepping really hard to become pro. Like that's crazy, like that's would be I feel like I'm super impressed how you've been able to like approach this with such like maturity and like just perspective too. I'm putting myself in your shoes and like if I was in a prep like that and like getting that pro card and be like, I'm a pro bodybuilder to kind of remove yourself from that a little bit. You're still pro, you still accomplish that, but kind of be able to like let go a little bit, I think would be really hard. But I think it's really cool you're able to like prioritize what's important to life because like you said, like 10 years is a long time to work towards a goal. And it's like, if you're in Vietnam, you should go eat some pho. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like go have some fun. So that's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was like I think another thing too is like because I'm married right to Joe, and he's also a
Mhm.
professional bodybuilder. Nobody, I'm telling you, there's not a single person in this world who loves bodybuilding more than that man does. Like he number one thing he loves in this world, me. But a very close second, maybe 2 points behind, is bodybuilding. Not very far behind. Okay. If bodybuilding would cook his meals for him, it might beat me. But he truly just like, win or lose, he's just happy to be there. Me, I hate losing. If I'm not going to win, like, I don't want to be there.
Mhm.
And he loves, no matter he's like winning, he's losing, he's just happy to be there. He went on stage like when he did his pro debut, and just after he did his individual routine, he's like crying because he's so happy. He dreamt about this. He did 15 shows before he turned pro, and he has dreamt about being a pro and being on that stage next to everybody else for so long that he just got so emotional, even just like not even like getting first call out, not even like doing well, not even that, but just being there made him so emotional. And like for me, if I don't feel like that, why am I doing it? Like, why am I half-assing?
Mhm.
Why am I wasting money? Why am I wasting time? Why am I wasting energy? Like doing something that like I'm not like that passionate about.
I'm going to
I
interrupt you right there
Yeah.
because so I have a sports psychology class I took, and I feel like often I talk to a lot of people about this. Actually, like it's kind of hard to talk about, but I've had several people that have told me like how they had very high suicide ideations, and a lot of it was behind the stress of trying to be number one. Like being at the top of the game is tough, and it's very interesting how you compared you to Joe, how Joe just loves the process, loves being there, because I used to a couple of years ago, I couldn't handle not winning. I really, really couldn't. I was like, I had something to prove to myself. And then after years of like shadow work and therapy, I can now approach it. So it's interesting because I kind of lost my ego about it. Cause now I don't care. Like, I know I'm going to kill it. I don't care if I'm not, I no longer care if I'm not the best in the world, which, you know, that whole being the best in the world started in sixth grade. I went up to the high school level so I could beat those girls. I was like, no one is ever going to beat me no matter what sport I do. Um, and then so it's funny to kind of be in a different realm of it, and that took a lot of work. And that's one thing I want you to, because with powerlifting for you, it seemed like it was a light switch. Like, I'm done, no problem. With bodybuilding, it seems like it's been a little harder. Is that right?
mean, so I think it's not necessarily bodybuilding itself. It's being done with competing at all.
Okay.
You know, it's been such a huge part of like my identity. It's been like who I am, like ever since I was, 19, you know, since I've been an adult, I've been competing in something. I've been like aiming towards a goal. I've had something to like aim for. And then now I'm like not competing at all. And I think that's more of the adjustment rather than like bodybuilding itself. It's more of like no longer having a goal with fitness. It's like no longer being like, for me, feeling like part of the fitness community. It's like more of the shift in focus away from, anything, and away from anything to do with fitness at all, rather than like bodybuilding itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. How do you
Yeah.
deal? So Christina, I always talk about this. Like you said, like you feel like you don't belong in the fitness community anymore. And I can definitely relate to that because, I support myself 100% and my business is around fitness. And it's been kind of cool because I proved to myself over the last 2 years that like I still can be in the fitness community and not compete. And Christy like said the same thing when she was injured. She was so worried about her coaching business, but it actually was still fine. So how are you kind of navigating not, the community that you were in for 10 years? Do you still find like, obviously you and me are still like, we're all still friends and we're in the fitness community, but how are you kind of finding like separation so that you have more peace with that? Or is it something that just you're still working on?
I think that part of it too is just like I had to make my Instagram private. I'm working on a lot of like I was in the army, right, for 6 years, and so I'm now working on like benefits with the army, and I don't want them like, if I'm trying to say that, the army injured me, which they did, then I don't want them to be like, hey, but you deadlifted 600 pounds, you're fine. So I had to make my Instagram private for a while just to kind of like keep things like on the down low. So I think that was like a big thing that contributed to it as well. because I'm not like actively posting, I'm not actively like getting out there, I'm not actively like doing all of that. That's more like what made me feel like, I feel like I would still maybe feel like I was part of the fitness community if I was still like posting and I was still like kind of, what's the word? Like if I was still like trying to actively like bring in new clients. But at the moment, I'm just kind of like taking a small hiatus. And so I think that's maybe part of it too. And then it just happened to be at the same time as like stopping competing. And so it's just so much at once, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's definitely hard to like, I feel like it's so weird that so much of the fitness community is online. You know, we're all connected like that.
Yeah.
Just you have your gym community and you have your online community. But something I'm also really curious about, because we were talking about this yesterday. We're like, we were such little confident, chubby power lifters. I
Yes.
was like, I look back at the pictures I posted and I was like, I was feeling myself. And now that I'm
Oh,
leaner, I'm way more insecure. And so, how is that transition from, oh, I mean, you look amazing and you always
thank
have
you.
every phase of life,
Thank
but
you.
how is that transition from stage ready? I'm getting ready for, I'm in bodybuilding off season, I'm in body in season to, quote unquote, retired. And, was that hard to do? Because I know going from comp prep to off season's hard, but are you able to kind of like relax on that and feel good?
Yeah. So like yes and no, it's like hard. So because right when I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna bodybuild anymore, I kind of just like let go of everything. Like I'm still eating, like 4 meals a day, 3 meals a day. It's still like prioritizing protein, but it's no longer like I was eating 5 meals a day and it had to be at every single time. It had to be like I eat my first meal before like so and so, I eat my second meal at this time, and then I go to the gym. I have to have my pre post workout like with me, like da 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 da, So originally I was just like, oh, you know what? If I want to have a snack, I can have a snack. Like if I want to do this, I can do this. And I gained like nothing crazy, like 5 pounds or something like that. And then once I was like, okay, girl, like we get it. That's sort of like how I was in my own head. I'm like, girl, we get it. Like you're not bodybuilding. You don't have to eat shit all the time just because you're not bodybuilding. Right. And so now I've kind of like reined it back in. And I think like what's nice is like I'm still going to try to achieve like my like goal, right? And so my goal now is trying to like one just like feel good in my body like all the time, because with bodybuilding I just want to feel like as confident as I did as a chubby little power lifter. Like, I was so happy to be in a bikini. I was happy like yeah, I'm like self-conscious,
Hmm.
like I don't care, I'm going to wear the bikini anyway. Now like I feel like I don't want to wear a bikini, like I don't want to be in public, because I still, even though I'm not bodybuilding, I still have that like I'm a professional bodybuilder, I shouldn't let myself go like that. So it's still hard, I think, to have that like mental wraparound. But I think like right now, I'm just trying to really find the balance. Balance is like it's not a thing when you're competing, right? Like there's no such thing as like balance really. So I'm really trying to find the balance while being able to like achieve a fitness goal, if that makes sense. I feel like now
Hmm.
I'm trying to do like what my clients are always trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just like tracking my macros. I just eat 3 meals a day. Sometimes I'll have like a shake or something if I want to have some like another meal, or I'll have like in my cream, like protein ice cream. If I want to have like some extra protein or something, but I just do my like 3 meals a day. I try to make them like cleanish. And then since he's on prep, it's like really easy because he's clean meals every single day. Even his like cheat meals are stuff that I make at home. That was something that I also got like really passionate about, like after competing, is making everything at home because I'm tired of like store-bought preservatives and stuff. So when he wants to have when he has a cheat meal, we'll have like a steak burrito. So I'll make the tortillas and then we'll have like, steak with like I make the pico. I'll like get some like beans and corn, and then we like just make everything together. It's like homemade Chipotle, but it's like his like cheat meal. And then like when I want to have a cheat meal, it's like nice because then I can go out with my friends once a week, twice a week. I'll have like my like cheat meal, and then the rest of it, it's just like clean, because even his like cheat meal, that's like what I eat for dinner every night. So it's been nice to try to find and like figure out that balance of like eating like healthy, but not like restricting calories too much, but also like enjoying my food. But also, it's like
Yeah.
trying to find the really just the balance between everything. So it's hard. It's definitely hard. Like I mean, I feel a little better about my body now. I was pretty bloated for like a month or so. I was still trying to adapt to everything, but I'm feeling better and better, I think, like every day.
Is there anything that you actively do on the days? So like you said, you're trying to find balance. That's not easy when you lived and breathed competing for so long. Do you have any
Yeah.
tactics? Because something like I really struggled with, because I was finding a balance for like 2 years, but I would still have those days where I would just like become really depressed and be like, what? I would literally ask myself, what the fuck is the purpose of life if I'm not striving towards a goal? Because I just, for me, like it's been the reason I wake up every day since I was little.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have, like, I would call you or one of you guys, honestly, like I would just talk to my friends and have them like reel me back in. So what's something you do when that competitiveness hits and you're like, does that happen to you? Or you just, are you, it seems like you're enjoying it. Like, is that true?
Yeah, I honestly don't really have like days that much. Like sometimes, when I see pictures of myself from prep, I'm like, oh, like, maybe I want to get lean again. And then I just like remember what prep was like. And I remember walking 25,000 steps every single day and eating zero carbs, like literally zero carbs for like 8 weeks. And I'm just like, never mind. Or it's like, yeah, I do have those days where I'm not like striving towards a goal. But I think what really helps is I feel like I'm like helping him strive towards his goal.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that's
it's nice because it's like, yeah, it's not me. Like, I'm not the one competing, but, I make like almost all of his meals. I like get up in the morning and do cardio with him. Like, I feel like supporting is my new goal, and my supporting and helping him to get to where he wants to be is more of a goal for me now than like most things. I really want to see him achieve like what he wants because, again, it's like that passion to me is just like unmatched. I have
mm-hmm.
not, I haven't had passion like that for anything ever.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I think like on the days that like I feel like I want to compete, I just like see him, I see what he's doing, I see like him striving towards it. And I'm like, yeah, not for me, but let me help you.
I think that's, yeah, I wish I could really, I think that's beautiful. I wish I could relate. Because for me, like, if I don't know, Chrissy, I feel like you're the same way, but like, even when I wasn't like competing for prepping for something, I was like, I'm going to look up people's stats for tactical games in the army and make sure I can crush all these tests. And I'm going to make sure I have this much money in my bank account. Like, I just can't comprehend, like, not. So I give you so much credit. And I hope sometimes I think, like, obviously I'm not a mom, but I'm like, I wonder when I have kids if I'll be able to like chill out a little bit. So I admire that.
Oh, thank you. It's like, I don't know, it's just been like a process too. And then with like work, our work has shifted to a bit away from like the fitness industry. We work for his dad owns a company in Korea. So with also the shift away from like just the shift away from the fitness community, my focus being more towards like other things has really helped with, I don't know, not focusing on it. You know what I mean? We have other things going on. And then with him, like he's striving towards the goal in bodybuilding. He does like so much more work than I do. I feel like I've really been able to, like, as silly as I feel like this is about to sound, I feel like I've really embraced the life of being like a stay-at-home wife and supportive wife. And it's really like become like my goal, you know?
I
And
don't think
like,
that sounds silly.
yeah,
The
it's just
sole
something.
purpose. So it's funny because a lot of high level competitors have similar personalities to some degree, right? But like the sole purpose we're put on earth is you're supposed to have other people in your life. And when you're a high level competitor, sometimes, you have such a narrow way of thinking and living your life kind of on autopilot, like you said, eating your meals at this time, going to the gym at this time, that you forget what's important. So it almost feels like I I actually have compared it when you stop competing to a death, because I really do think it's a grieving process, because it's your identity, it's the way you live life. It's almost like entering a foreign world. And like you said, you still do cardio, you still eat healthy, but you have a little bit of leeway there, which is, and if you're listening, you might be someone that can relate, and you might be someone that's like, well, I could never do that. And that's why competing isn't for everyone. It's definitely not. But if you love it, like us three do, then you get it. So
uh,
what would you say? We talked a lot about the transition and stuff, but from being such a high level athlete, what are things that are positives that you've taken that you still now, kind of utilize in your everyday life, whether that's through business or supporting Joe? Like, what are some I know I'm not wording this the best, but like, what are some valuable lessons that you've learned from competing that you apply to everyday life right now?
Oh, routine for sure. Like I would say that's number one thing that I learned from bodybuilding is like the importance and the efficiency of a routine. So honestly, that was something I was never good at. I'm still not that good at it, if I'm honest. But it's like something I was never good at with bodybuilding is like eating my meals like on time. Like of course I have my 5 meals a day. I have to have my breakfast, my pre-workout, post-workout. But it would be like he's like, hey, like don't you have to eat? I'm like, yeah. He's like, don't you have to eat in like 20 minutes? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, so are you going to get started on your meal? And like for me, I never had that like sense of urgency. And so like it was one, it was really nice to have him because he would like help me and like remind me, or else I swear sometimes I would only end up eating like 2 or 3 meals a day on prep because I'm just like, oh, like I just want to lose weight, like I'm not good at that like regimented life. So it was something that bodybuilding really like helped with. And him being on bodybuilding is also still helping with because again, we get up in the morning, we do the cardio, we do this, we do that. He comes home from the gym, we go for a walk. Like it's like we have that schedule that we go on, and that's I think like number one thing I've taken away. And then like two is from bodybuilding specifically, would be like nutrition. As a power lifter, like not nutrition at all. I would say I used to eat like chicken nuggets post workout.
Oh my
He
God.
used to make fun. He used to make so much fun of me because I would have like Tyson, like they're like, there's protein in them, but like you're definitely eating like fat. And he's like, "Are you having chicken nuggets post workout?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would have chicken
Oh my
nuggets post
God.
workout."
That's
Like
so
when a
And
funny.
powerlifter goes to bodybuilding.
yeah, so that was something I really had to get used to was like, eating clean and like timing my meals better and then timing my like
Mhm.
macros better if that like makes sense, right? So you don't want your like fat post workout and this and that. So those were like I think the two top were like the importance of a schedule and like staying on routine. And then two would be just in general like nutrition. Because I
Yeah.
think like they don't teach us anything about nutrition. Like as a general person, nobody teaches
Yeah.
you anything. They don't teach you the
No.
importance of protein. They don't teach you like, that you shouldn't have your fat post like after your workout. They don't teach you like any of these things. And so I kind of just went in like, okay, like let's go. Not that you guys can see me if you're like listening, but I'm covering my eyes here and I'm just like, okay, like let's go forward. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I had to go from just like eating when I was hungry to eating like 5 times a day. And that was a huge
I
difference.
give you so much credit because I can't even imagine like going into bodybuilding kind of like blind like that. Because before I competed for 12 years, I started weighing my food and like understanding macros in middle school. I remember I got in trouble actually from my health teacher because she found like a journal and they thought I had an eating disorder. And I was like, no, I'm just obsessed with wanting to get faster. So I want to fuel my body and make sure my glycogen levels. She's like, okay, whatever. But I can't, because
Yeah.
something I do like when I first start working with clients that have never tracked anything, I'm like, okay, you know what? Instead of busting out the scale, we're just going to start with the simple hand method for protein. So
Yeah.
like, let's measure it out like this. Then you can use the scale. So what was that adjustment like? Was that like a shock or did you love it? You said you weren't
Um,
very routine oriented, so that's a
no.
360.
Yeah. So it was like I had done macros before, but not like 5 meals a day, planning out your macros every single meal kind of macros was just like, hey, like let's just make sure we're under these macros for the day kind of thing. I knew like what I was doing in that sense. I knew, you should have so much protein, so much carbs, so much fat. I had a very like general outline. I could lose weight, get people to lose weight in the part of just like macros, but it was more like nutrient timing. It was more like specific, like when you should have each thing and like what the importance of each thing is and like whatever. So it's not that I guess I suppose went in like blind. I knew a little bit of what I was talking about, but like not nearly as specific as it takes for bodybuilding,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Did you love both the same powerlifting and bodybuilding, or was it a little bit of a different relationship?
Definitely different. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely different. I think too, like I never loved bodybuilding the same as I loved powerlifting because like where I fell in love with powerlifting was like in Hawaii. We had that team workout. It was like same 15 people every single day that you're in there with. Like everybody helps everybody. There's like 15 of you, 4 racks. Everybody's got 3 to 4 people on each rack, and everybody's doing like, okay, what's your weight? Okay, 220. Okay, we're gonna load it up. Okay, yours is 230. Okay, we'll change it after. Okay, what's yours? And then you like make sure that everybody knows what weight they're doing, and then you're just like cycling it out, like everybody loading everybody's weights. It was very much like a team sport. And then bodybuilding, like, I mean, then I moved to California. Powerlifting, still not a team sport. Like, I got to train with like Christy, you know, when we could. We had like a cute little like group that we would train with sometimes, but still, it was not like a team sport. You know what I mean? It's still not the same as it was before. And then switching to bodybuilding, I'm just training by myself all the time. Well, I mean, it was nice when I first started bodybuilding. Like Joe had his own like little team, and that was super fun for me. My first prep, we all trained together like 4 days a week. He had like I trained like a men's physique competitor basically. I didn't really like train like a wellness girl. I just trained with them, and they were all men's physique, you know. And it was super fun, and that was like really, really like a good time for me as well. But then once I like knew that I needed to like, grow more in wellness, I needed to more train like a wellness girl. I needed to like downsize my upper body, and then I had to start training by myself. I trained by myself for the last like 2 years, and it just like wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it really like took the fun out of it for me, because it's like for me, I never like enjoyed working out. Like I enjoyed training because I was like chasing a goal. You know, I enjoyed like pursuing that goal, but I never enjoyed working out. It was never like about enjoying like, oh, the gym's the best part of my day. Like not me. I'm there because I have to be, and because like I want to pursue this goal, but I'm not there because like, oh, it's the best part of my day. It's never been the best part of my day. The best part of my day is coming home from the gym and laying on the couch, you know? Like I enjoy like relaxing and like doing other stuff, but it's like I go to the gym because it's like good for me. I'm pursuing goals, and because it's like healthy. You know, it's like number one was always like pursuing my goals and like doing what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. But I've never, I think, ever been one of those people that's like, yeah, like I can't wait to go to the gym. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's never been me.
I saw your Instagram story post the other day that was like, if I didn't go to the gym every time I didn't want to go, I would never go.
I would literally never go. I would never go. Like sometimes, you know, I'm like, oh, you know, training sounds fun today. Okay, that sounds nice. But it's never like, oh, I can't wait to train. You know, some people are like that. Like a lot of people are like that. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had that. I think I probably would have lasted longer in bodybuilding if I had that like feeling. But I've
Yeah.
not. It's not like that for me. I think that so when I first started like fitness, I was really young. I was like, I mean, I played sports all growing up, but I don't think I really like count that. But when I was like fitness, I was like 14, and then my mom taught group fitness. She taught group fitness like Pilates, like Zumba, what else? Like just whatever group fitness classes were there at the time she like taught. And so that's like how I like got into fitness. And then it was always about like getting skinny, right? It was about losing weight. It was about like, hey, you should stop eating carbs because like you're getting a little like chunky. And then like, you know, let's go and do like an hour of cardio. Oh, like let's like burn 1,000 calories in this hour of cardio. It was always like that. It was never like a fun thing. It was always about like, oh, you know, let's like try to like maintain like a trim waist. You know, we should like always have like abs. It was never about like fun. It was never about like healthy. It was always about like body size, and group fitness was always like how it got into it. So I think that having that negative connotation with fitness, like starting out 15 years ago, was like how it's just like always kept in my brain. But when I was pursuing a goal, I was doing it for me. I was doing it because it was a goal. It was because I really wanted to do that. But it's never been about like a good time. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I was actually, it was yesterday that you put that on your story about like what Christy said, like, oh, if I didn't, you know, I'd never want to go to the gym. Like, you're never going to find motivation. And it was, I just think that it's important for other people to hear that, because even people like you like go through that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think people think that all the time. Like, if you're good at something, it's like, oh, you must like love it. You know, and like I loved training for this reason. I loved bodybuilding because I was pursuing a goal. I loved powerlifting because I wanted to be strong. But it was never like I loved going in and like doing it. And I think that that's like something that is like a big maybe it's just me, but also like maybe it's a big misconception. It's like, you know, you're always motivated. Oh, you go every day because like you want to go to the gym every day. Like, how do you get that motivation? It's like, I don't. My motivation was always pursuant to a goal. And even now, like I have to make that like goal for myself. It's like, because I want to like be healthy. I want to maintain my body. I want to like do this. And so like that's my like goal, is not to like lose muscle. I don't necessarily want to get bigger, but I don't really want to lose a lot, you know? And so, well, in order to do and look how I want to look, in order to do what I want to do, I to do this. It's a task on my to-do list, you know? It's a non-negotiable.
It's so funny. I think it's so interesting to see what internally like motivates people, because for me, like I've always really loved training solo. In like second grade, that's when I became a runner. I was just outside for hours. And I remember like I will specifically like tell people when like they're training with me, like I get not upset, like I don't care, but if they're like, oh, push harder, grow your legs, or do you want to get first in the world? I'm like, oh hell no. This is about like me versus me. And I view working out as a way just to like release all my energy. And I see it more like, this is going to sound really weird, but I have more of like a spiritual connection with training. Like it makes me stronger in every way, and it gives me like fuel. Like it's just not about what I look like or how strong I am. Like for me, it's totally different. So it's really cool to hear that, because I find it even at everyone that's at a high level, like has a different internal motivation.
I think that's like a much healthier view of fitness for sure.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, I think it's, yeah, I mean, it's still cool. Like, it's cool that, like, it just goes to show you've got to make yourself do stuff, and those habits are important, and you are continuing those habits now, which is great. You just kind of have to, like, adjust them. So that's not about pro bodybuilder. It's about, like, overall health and fitness. But yeah, I'm in a little bit more in the same boat, Brittany. I just love training. So it's like, as long as I can do that, I'm good. Like, when I was injured, my perspective changed. Like, it used to be like, I need to compete. But once you're like, I might not be able to train how I want, that's what gets scary. So if I'm able to train, I'm happy, my best part of my day. So it's interesting to hear. Like, I think that's important to hear, because a lot of people say they don't want to go to the gym, and then they don't. But you can accomplish a lot if you just make yourself go. And for you, it's a habit now. Like, you guys have your schedule, your regimen, and all that stuff.
And I think that's something too that like people, like you're saying, right? People like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. Like, me either, dude. I go anyway. It's not like, oh, it's not the best part of my day, but it's an hour. It's an hour. Once I'm there, so it's like I don't want to go, but once I'm there, I'm having a good time. I like pump. I enjoy like the way I look after, the way I feel like after, and it makes it like worth it. The best part of my day is like the endorphins after I work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that most people don't get far enough to even like get that part.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's so true. That's so true. And you might
like, is
have
it fun during? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, depends who you are, but after, and all of the benefits that you like reap from it, it's so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, do you have any more questions, Chrissy?
No more questions. That was pretty cool, though. I feel like this conversation, I already said this earlier, but really helped me, because we all, I mean, maybe not face retirement one day. We could just keep going forever. But I think for people like me, and Brittany, works wrapped up in this, are value, or some competitors, like, their value, their everything, you're chasing a goal for so long, and then you achieve it. The way you pivot after that says a lot. And I'm just really proud of you, Ciarra, of like how mature you are, like how much you've matured in the sport and learned, and you embracing your role. Like you said, hey, like embracing this role at stay-at-home wife, and like still having these healthy habits. Like, it's just really inspiring. Just, if you found what you're at peace at, and what brings you joy, and makes you happy, and then you being able to adapt and pivot to that is really big. Because honestly, I think it's hard to make that change when you're so engulfed in a world like that. Mm-hmm. So cheers to you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, seriously, hats off. Like I love seeing my friends just go down different avenues, and it's really, really cool, because at 25, I felt like I would have looked down at someone, to be completely honest, if they just gave up on a goal. And now,
fast forward for me.
Fast forward like 7 years later, it's like, I think it's harder to step away and be open to having a new life. And like you said, like, I love that you see Joe's passion, and that brings out almost like your competitive side. Like you want to do everything to help him succeed. So again, yeah, for anyone listening, I'll post Ciarra's Instagram so you can kind of look back, see what she used to do and see how she, isn't posting her life. And I think that just goes back to another point too. It's like so much of the fitness industry is in social media, and that's just your online presence. Like it is okay to step away and have a different life. So keep doing you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Oh yeah, of course, no worries.
No, go ahead, say what you were gonna say.
No, it just like, what was it? Nothing. It's nothing.
No, say it.
Your life on Instagram. Your life on Instagram.
No, because it was just like, so for me, like, you were talking about like, making peace with it and everything. And then you were saying like, we would have maybe judged people. So for me, like even last year, I would have judged people for like stepping away. And I think like because of that, like I also had like almost guilt. You know what I'm talking about? Like guilt for like not pursuing a goal anymore. Like I feel like a quitter.
Oh, I can 100% relate. I can joke about it. This is my self-deprecating humor, but like 2 years ago when I moved, didn't have a life, didn't have any friends or anything, I was literally like, if I'm not competing, like I want to die. Like I said, I say it jokingly. It's nothing to really laugh at. But yeah, I didn't see the point in living without competing. So I get it.
Yeah. I was just like so guilty. I'm like, if I can pursue a goal, like how come I'm not doing it? But we're good now. We got over it. But that was like definitely something.
I think you've accomplished enough.
Yeah.
No, it's exactly.
I'm impressed. So, like, good.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like stop us on our like outro.
Don't be sorry. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.